Gregg Marshall Show with Wichita State Shocker basketball head coach Gregg Marshall is brought to you by Patterson Legal Group. They're the good guys. And by Jacobs Liquor Exchange. Here's the voice of the Shockers, Mike Kennedy.
And we'll actually have two shows for you this evening. Keitha Adams will be along from 7 to 8 as well to talk Shocker women's basketball. And I guess welcome back to our coaches shows. We were not here last week because of travel, so good to get back with all of you who are here in attendance, and those of you listening and watching as well. Wichita State comes off 2 straight wins in the past week at Memphis and then over UConn at home. Now 19-5 on the year. 9-3 in the Missouri Valley Conference, and in the latest polls, number 19 in Associated Press, number 18 in the coaches poll. Coach Marshall is just arriving, so I can't go on my rant about the stupid NCAA tournament committee and how they're still married to the RPI and how ridiculous that all is and how they just bend it to however they want it to suit their particular releases. But maybe we'll get to that at some point. But Coach, welcome, and certainly a good week for your club this last week.
Mike, I don't want to keep you from doing any type of ranting or whatever. I mean, honestly, I'm just listening and let you go.
The one thing I was going to mention, it's really not about Wichita State, so it's not a prejudice thing. But there are so many good sources out there that evaluate teams. There's Ken Pomeroy and the BPI and Jeff Sagard and a bunch of others that are based on statistical evidence, and they analyze all this stuff, and they really go in depth. And there's a lot of it, and the committee just ignores it. They're still locked into the RPI that is a horribly flawed system, and I can give you all kinds of examples, but the best one is they use it to justify certain picks that they make, like KU's a 2 seed. All the evidence says otherwise, except for the RPI, which has them at 8, so that would make them a 2 seed. Rhode Island is 20-3. They are 5 in the RPI, and they weren't even in the top 16. The committee announced their top 4 seeds yesterday, and Rhode Island wasn't one of them. Now, how do they justify that if they use it to justify others? It's a joke. But Wichita State's in a better conference and doesn't have to worry as much about some of that.
Rhode Island hasn't had enough good losses.
And that's the other thing. KU just lost at home to Oklahoma State and by 16 at Baylor, 2 teams that you beat on the road, but somehow those aren't bad losses for them, but they don't get counted as good losses or good wins for you when they evaluate your situation. So.
I can get fined and you can't, so you just keep going.
Let's talk about your team. And obviously, I mentioned this after Tuesday night's game at Memphis, that you mentioned after the game. Hopefully we got our team back tonight, and certainly it looked like that carried over into Saturday.
It did, especially in the first half. I thought we were as good offensively as we have been in a while. Got multiple guys knocking down shots. The ball movement was incredible. 17 assists on only 2 turnovers in the first half. Rashard Kelly set the tone with what was termed by Landry Shamet as some big boy rebounds in a crowd, out of his area, where he was just taking it from other people. And I think that's critical, the effort, the energy, the execution, but then knocking down shots, that's a great combination for the Shockers.
And as we've talked about many times, that's the most quixotic element in basketball, making jump shots, and it's going to come and go no matter how good a shooter is, no matter how good a team is. But it certainly, as you have mentioned, makes things easier when you do the other things, play defense, rebound, and so forth. When you're making shots, all of a sudden it starts to look a little easier.
Yeah, even on your best nights, you're going to shoot in the 50s, maybe 60%. That's very, very rare to shoot 60%, which means 40% of them are coming off the rim on your best night. So when you've got guys that are rebounding and giving you second chance and third chances, like Rashard Kelly and Darrell Willis and Marcus McDuffie and Zach Brown, it really adds to the ability to when you start doing the average of points per possession. That's just one possession. You get 3 shots, but it's still only one possession.
And I feel like one of your greatest strengths has always been that you certainly make your players understand what is a good shot and what is not a good shot, and that's individual to some degree, not just as a team, but each guy has shots that sometimes are good shots, that are not good shots for other people. But you also have always given your guys freedoms within those parameters to take shots when they're open and what are good shots for them, and to keep shooting even if they're struggling. And certainly you have been very supportive of Landry through a little slump and Connor through his slump, but it had to feel good knowing it was going to get better sometime that it did this last week.
Yeah, Darren Boatwright and I were joking on Saturday night about all of the great tinkering we did with Connor Frankamp's jump shot and how we were going in the gym and altering his form and getting that precisely where we needed to be. But no, it was just sticking with the kid and making sure that he knew that we had his back, and we wanted him to. The only problem we were going to have is if he stopped shooting when he was open.
And he didn't get off to a great start the other night. He had a 3 early that didn't miss by much, but missed. He had a pull-up that was halfway down and came out. But he made a couple, and you could tell by the end he was back to really being confident. He took a couple late that were long, and you could just tell he knew he was going to make it.
He was very assertive and aggressive. After he made the first one on a beautiful kick out from Shaq Morris, against the zone in the first half, right in front of UConn's bench. At that point, it was lights out shooting for him, and he was actively searching threes and open shots in transition and in the scheme of our offense.
You know, that was the other thing I wanted to mention about the game the other night. Not just the total number of assists.
There's Xavier McDaniel, by the way, at a
gosh.
college basketball game. I'm pretty sure that's Xavier. That's a Norfolk State.
Oh, that is
yeah,
the
there he is.
X-Mat. By the way, for those of you who have been curious, I just had a chance to find this out today. There was a question the other night after Austin had 3 straight 20-point games.
He got some from chips. I'm going to text him later. He's munching on some chips.
He hasn't slimmed down any since the last time we saw him. But
I wouldn't tell him that. You just said that on television. So.
But somebody had asked what was the record for most consecutive 20-point games. Austin had 3 in a row. Since you've been here, I think Garrett had 4 in a row one time, and Ron had 4 in a row early in his senior year. The X-Man in his senior year had 18 consecutive 20-point or better games. He had 4 consecutive 30-point or better games during his senior year, and the only thing he ever wanted to know at the end of any of those games was how many rebounds he had. So.
Yeah, I need to be a better recruiter because I would love to have a Xavier McDaniel on my squad. If we had him, we might have won a national championship already.
Delaware State, Norfolk State. I wonder what his connection is there. Maybe he's.
Who knows? It could be.
I don't know how old his son is now. Maybe he's playing for one.
He has a son, I think, that plays for Texas Permian Basin or Pan Am or whatever it is, and coached by a former Shocker. Lou Hill.
That's Texas Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah,
that used to be Texas Pan Am. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, but 24 assists again the other night. But beyond just the number, the quality, and you mentioned Shaq's kickout. That was a tremendous pass. He was on the opposite block, made a pass that you didn't even know he could probably see it was open.
Across his body with his right hand. The pass that Rashard Kelly made when he drove in the first half with his left hand after a curl and then jumped in the air and whipped it around with his left hand for the dunk to Shaq Morris. That was a beautiful play, too. Our bigs are exceptionally good at passing the basketball. Shaq, Daryl's actually passing the ball a couple of times now. Rashard Kelly can pass it. Rashard had 5 assists, 1 turnover, and 10 rebounds.
And the other thing was just the total unselfishness that we mentioned a play on your postgame show where somebody caught it in the lane and actually could have taken a shot, had a pretty good shot, saw Austin open on the wing, kicked it out to him, and he saw that Landry was even more open at the top of the key and let him have it, and he drilled it from the top.
Yeah, that was in the first half as well. And Austin's shot was good and it was wide open, but he made the extra pass, and Landry was even a little slightly bit more open. And to be as hot as Austin's been and to pass that is just it's remarkable for a team to do that. Our assist to baskets made has got to be one of the best in the country.
And your assist average, 19.2 per game, is 3rd in the country. 8 of the top 12 single-game assist totals in your tenure have come this season. And it's just been game after game where I think you've only had fewer than 15 turnovers maybe 3 times all season.
Yeah, well, We have a lot of assists, but the thing that hurt us in the Temple game, and we've got Temple coming up, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, but we lost the game because we turned the ball over down the stretch. So sometimes we make a little bit too much of a chancy play against the better defensive teams. You're not going to be able to do that, and we're going to see some good defense this week.
And that's something that even with more experienced players, sometimes it takes a little reminding that you have an offense that's designed to work a certain way, and it's okay to make that first and second pass to the obvious open guys to get into whatever it is you're running. You don't have to make that great pass through a couple of defenders.
No, you got to value the basketball and just not make chancy plays. Occasionally, they want to be too fine with the window to pass the basketball, and it gets deflected. And today I had to mention a couple of times because we threw passes, and all the defenders had to do was raise their arms. So I had to tell the guys in practice, remind them that the other team had arms, and they usually would use their arms on defense.
Yeah, the other thing that maybe gets overlooked a little bit is how good your team is in transition, and that's where you'll pick up some easy assists sometimes when you've got big guys that run the floor. You've got somebody like Kelly that can rebound and take it out on the break himself and initiate the offense, and when somebody rebounds, they don't necessarily have to wait for the point guard to flash to one side of the court or the other to get the offense started.
Yeah, he's been allowed to do that this year and last year. The only time that it's really hurt us was in the Memphis game where he jumped up in the air. We had a 5-on-2, and he made a terrible decision to jump up in the air. The guy used his arms. It was deflected back towards their basket, and then we fouled for an and one. It was like a 5 to 6 point swing. But we're really good when he pushes it, and we've gotten better as the year's gone on. We're still not elite in transition, but we're really starting to spray it to those wing players that are really good when they're wide open and towing the line.
You are listening to Shocker head coach Gregg Marshall, our coaches show from AJ Sports Grill at the Alley, and we will continue with the coach in just a moment.
I'm Coach Gregg Marshall. Making sure my family is well taken care of is important to me. So when it comes to their comfort needs, I trust Welch's Heating and Air to keep them comfortable and safe. Welch's, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning customer care dealer, offers award-winning service with a 96% customer satisfaction rating. I want the best taking care of my family, and so should you. Call Welch's Heating and Air today at 733-1600.
At Bell Mirror & Glass, we know our work reflects our family name, but we also know that what we do reflects on you.
For over 50 years now, Bell Mirror and Glass has created and installed nothing but the finest custom-made glass, mirrors, shower enclosures, and more for your family or business. Visit the gorgeous Bell Mirror and Glass showroom today.
And let what we do reflect on you.
Bell Mirror and Glass. For over 50 years, a reflection of perfection.
So you want to join the popular RV movement? Why not try it before you buy it at Ramsey's RV Rental in Augusta, Kansas? Ramsey's RV Rental has top-of-the-line towable travel trailers that sleep up to 8 for your next getaway, road trip, hunting trip, or tailgate. Small to large, toy haulers too. Many of Ramsey's RV units come equipped with state-of-the-art flat screens, kitchens, bathrooms, and more. Book online now at Ramsey'sRVRental.com, where you could say Ramsey's RV Rental has changed camping into glamping. Ramsey's RV Rental, 316-775-3637.
Your eyes are often the first to capture important memories. Dress them for the occasion with a new pair of glasses from Howard's Optical. For nearly half a century, Howard's has given you the look you want and deserve. Ask about the Ultimate Lens Package at any of their 4 locations in Wichita, Bradley Fair, Riverside, 13th and Mays Road, and their main store at 5405 East Central. Howard's Optical, a heritage of quality, service, and integrity. Visit howardsoptical.com, proud supporter of Wichita State basketball. Go Shocks!
People come from all over the world to shop at Jacob Liquor Exchange.
Ooh la la, look at the selection. One for every occasion. Oui, oui, c'est magnifique.
You've got to be kidding. We don't have this much scotch in all of Scotland.
You have more vodka than the Kremlin. When I want beer, this is where I get her done.
Jacob Liquor Exchange has the largest selection of beer, wine, and spirits in Wichita. We're right on the way and right on the price. Jacob Liquor Exchange.
Welcome back to the Gregg Marshall Show. Keitha Adams coming up from 7 to 8. I want to mention not only will we be back here next week on schedule, but we will start our baseball coaches show with Todd Butler next week as well. The baseball team opens its season at McNeese State this weekend, so we'll have Coach Marshall 6 to 7, Coach Adams 7 to 8, and Coach Butler 8 to 9 next week. So you might as well just settle in and enjoy yourself here at AJ's next Monday. We'll only have a couple of those Mondays till we get through the basketball season. But anyway, just wanted you to know that's coming up. Again, the Shockers 19 and 18 in the polls this week, moved up 3 spots in each. They are 19 in the RPI, 18 Ken Pomeroy, 13 Jeff Sager, and 11 in the ESPN BPI. The Shockers' strength of schedule 52 with some very good opponents still coming up here in the last few weeks of the season. The Shockers now down to their final 6 games of the regular season, 3 at home, 3 on the road, 1 of each this week with Temple here on Thursday night and then at Cincinnati on Sunday afternoon. I mentioned the Shockers are 3rd in the nation in assists, 5th in assist to turnover ratio. And even with those occasional games that I know have been aggravating turnover-wise, that total gets better every week, 11.8 turnovers per game. That puts you 59th in the country. And last week, 42 assists to 17 turnovers and 102 to 48 over the last 5 games, better than 2 to 1.
Yeah, we're passing the ball well and taking care of the ball. I think you said the game against Cincinnati was Saturday. I think it's Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. If I did, I'm sorry. It is Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah. Big week. I mean, Temple's very good. Obviously, they snuck one out against us at their place, and they're right there fighting for an at-large at this point. And then Cincinnati has had a heck of a year. I mean, I don't know what their schedule was non-conference, but to go undefeated thus far in this league, I know they're at Houston and they have to come to our place on the last Saturday of the season. But Mick Cronin, in my opinion, right now should be considered for Coach of the Year nationally. He's done a great job. Tremendous team. I mean, you see them when you're scouting these other teams, and man, they're just a very, very athletic, tough, defensive-minded team that doesn't beat itself.
And we will talk more about them as we go on. Obviously, a couple of players I wanted to talk about. We talked quite a bit about Richard, but he's 21st in the nation in offensive rebounding at almost 3.4 per game, 117th overall in rebounding at 7.8. He's now been in double figures in rebounds 8 times this season. And his rebounding average of 7.8 is the 3rd best in the last 21 years. Garrett Stutz averaged 8 per game. Ramon Clemente 7.9, both in Coach Marshall's tenure at 7.8. He's right within striking distance of those numbers, and he's not quite as big as either one of those guys.
No, and the thing is, he's doing that in like 24 minutes a game. I mean, none of our guys have to play 35 minutes a game, and I mean, if he played that many minutes, he would be averaging double figures for sure. I mean, the guy is relentless in his pursuit of the basketball. And he's only 6'6".
Yeah. Austin Reeves not only had the 3 straight 20-point games, but a solid game the other night. 9 points, didn't take that many shots, but 3 for 7 from 3. But it's just as much his all-around game and just the confidence he seems to be gaining on when to take shots and pushing the ball in transition and rebounding and doing a lot of things well.
He's just a basketball player. I mean, you look at the kid and you think, wow. And sometimes the opponents look at him and think, okay, I'm going to just take the ball from him and I'm going to drive by him and he can't score on me. And then the next thing you know, he's popping jumpers and he's taking charges and he's fearless even despite his small frame. But the kid can really play the game. He knows how to play. He's a tremendous teammate. No one enjoys the success of his teammates more than Austin Reeves, and he's a very positive influence on the rest of the guys out there. He knows our system. Sometimes he drives me crazy asking me questions about what we're doing before I can get to that. You know, I'm going to tell you at the end of this timeout, but he'll interrupt me and say, well, Coach, what kind of pressure we're going to do on this free throw? And I said, okay, Austin, you want to coach or play? You know, you can do both, but just let me know. He's tremendous, and he grew up in a basketball family. Both his parents were great players at Arkansas State. The Memphis game, I bet you the town of New Ark, Arkansas was deserted.
Closed down.
It was
Absolutely.
deserted. There were so many people there supporting Austin Reeves. I guess it's an hour 45 from Memphis. You know, they could have recruited him like this. All they had to do was make one phone call, and they neglected to do that. And you know, it it was really important for him to go in front of the closest we're going to get to his hometown and play so well against a team that he probably grew up cheering for.
And I wanted to, you know, that very point is something I wanted to mention. One of the things that you were able to do at Winthrop and that you have done here is to find that guy that's a little less seen, a little less recruited, maybe will take a little longer to develop for whatever reason, and bring those people in and develop them and turn them into players. And that's been mentioned so many times to me this year by people from the outside. John Thompson III, Lanny Van Eman, who was a star here, coached in Division I in the NBA. People keep mentioning one of the strengths of this program is seeing a kid like Austin Reeves and recognizing what's there as a basketball player that a lot of the so-called bigger programs aren't willing to see. He's not the classic, ready-to-go right now kid, and he has turned into a heck of a player.
You know, it's interesting you say that. Now, I don't know why that is, Mike, but the only way I can explain it is when I look at these guys, I look at what they can do. And I try to, if they can do enough positive things, like Austin Reeves could score that ball. He could shoot it as well as anybody. He could drive it. He could handle it. He was fearless. In the game I saw when Kyle and I took a private plane somewhere in the deep woods of Arkansas, I don't even know where we were, but the only thing that they had that lit up at night was a Taco Bell. And I remember driving. It was very dark, and we got to this high school, and Kyle didn't have any money, and I didn't even bring my wallet. So the coach saw us standing there, and I ended up talking to the principal, who was also the ticket taker, and Austin's head coach runs out into the lobby 30 seconds before tip-off and says, "Hey, you got to let these guys in." So we watched him play for about half of a quarter, and I looked down to his dad because Kyle had already seen him play, and I saw his dad, and I said, "We want him." And so the dad goes, "Okay." And at that point, and basically it was on. And I think Arkansas later came up with a 5-for-4 deal. Walk on your first year, we'll scholarship you after that. And he said, "No, I'm going to go to Wichita State." And when you see the way he passed it and how his teammates, even though he could have shot it every time and probably should have, he was sharing the ball as a point guard. They couldn't take it from him, even though he wasn't the quickest guy in the world. He was very slight of build. I just loved what he could do, and I didn't worry about the shoulders and how skinny he was and how he wasn't the fastest guy. He's just a winner, and he loves the game. And Rashard Kelly. When I saw Rashard Kelly, I remember telling my assistant coaches at the time, this guy pursues the basketball better than anyone I've seen all summer long. And we need I love ball getters. I love loose ball getters, rebound obtainers, and that's what he was, and that's what he's become. Now, he can't shoot the ball great. He's worked on his handle. He's become a very good passer. He's a good defender. But that jump shot, nobody's going to ever recruit him for his jump shot. But we try to find out what they can do and, put them in a position to be successful. You, Rashard Kelly, don't need to shoot a whole lot, but you pursue that basketball. And Austin Reeves, we're not going to ask you to go in there and check out the big 7-footer, but you handle it, you pass it, you facilitate, and make sure our team is running as a cohesive unit. And he's really good at that because he understands the game.
When you've made it clear that you can still win at a high level with good basketball players who play together, play with some toughness, all those kinds of things, and that you can go on and on. Ron Baker was highly under-recruited, and the first time I saw him at one of your practices, he was going to redshirt that year. You were going to Brazil, got to have a few practices, And I couldn't believe it when I saw it, that you got this kid to walk on. He was playing against David Kyles, a way high-level athlete, and not getting beat, not looking bad. And I went, wow, this guy is going to be something else.
How about Fred Van Vliet?
Yeah.
Remember, he couldn't shoot. Fred Van Vliet couldn't shoot.
Too small, too slow.
And he couldn't shoot. Well, look at his numbers in the NBA. I mean, he's shooting great percentages and doing a great job. He's had double figures now, I think 7 straight games. He's in the rotation for arguably the best team in the Eastern Conference, the Toronto Raptors. The play that he had, I think it was yesterday, against the Charlotte Hornets, he beats somebody off the dribble, makes one of his patented layups, is starting to run back down the court, and the Hornets throw the ball in for some reason to a big guy, and then the big guy just lazily turns and throws it to the point guard across the lane. It had to be a 20-foot cross-court pass. And, of course, Fred Van Vliet jogging back down the court, planted his foot, came back, stole the ball, and laid it in again. So he had 2 layups within 6 seconds. And the coach for the Hornets called timeout. I know he's thinking, nobody does that in the NBA. Nobody plays that hard. Nobody is that smart. And they wouldn't even try to do that. They're just going to go back because they don't want to embarrass one of their colleagues in the league. But Fred just said, okay, you're going to give me 2 points. I'm just going to take it, and laid it in. They called timeout. And, how do you explain Fred Van Vliet?
Yeah, ask me if you've seen this one. This was in an NBA game earlier this year. He dribbled from the top to the left wing like he was driving hard, left edge of the key, and then he turns back out like, okay, it's not there, I'm just going to take it back out front. Spins back, goes baseline, lays it in. And just, we've seen that one here, and it's just amazing what he's doing.
Yeah, we talked about it, I think, last week. He just became a papa. He's got a young daughter now, Sana Marie, and Ron Baker just had labrum surgery this past Wednesday, and he's in for some tough rehab months now. And I did see his family, other than his mom, who was with him after the surgery. His dad, his brother, his sister were at the game on Saturday.
And I might just mention also, while we're talking about these guys, that while we were, where were we? I can't even remember now. Tulsa, I guess. There was a scout. No, it was what we were in East Carolina. There was a scout there from the Houston Rockets, and Alex Johnson, the director of development for the athletic department, got in a conversation with him. And the Rockets had just acquired Clay Anthony Early's contract and put him with their G League team. And they said, we are rehabilitating his career. We think he's got a lot of potential. He's going to be back in the NBA soon. And he has played well for that team, so hopefully we'll see him.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow the G League teams, but I hope Clay Anthony does that. I mean, he's obviously a talented player, and if he makes right decisions all the time, he's got the talent to play at that level. I mean, that's what people thought when he was drafted 31st by the Knicks, and I'm just pulling for him.
I also wanted to mention, kind of at the clear other end of the spectrum, while we were on the Memphis trip, a lot of people were curious about if Alex Lomax was at the game, but it was actually Alo's senior night, I believe, and so he had a game that night, couldn't come to your Memphis game.
Yeah, he just had a okay game. I think at halftime he had 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 11 assists.
At halftime.
Yeah, I think he ended up with like 37, 16, and 15, and they won by 90.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good. I don't know who they were playing, but I need to get them on the schedule next year.
And then Rod Brown got to make the trip, and his parents came to the shoot-around and to the game, so it was nice for him to get back home. But 2 Memphis guys going to be a big part of your team.
Yep, Eric Stevenson is advancing in the state tournament. They've won a couple of games already. They've got so they're, I don't know what they call it, but they're still going. Morris Udeze had a very good game. I was just minding my own business, and I got a text from a guy in New York, and he had seen Morris, and he said he's going to be a nice piece for your team. Big, strong, physical, good hands, plays hard. And of course, Isaiah Poorbear Chandler is still at Sunrise and doing well and taking care of his academics. So we've got a lot of good players coming in. We're going to be young next year, but I don't want to talk about next year yet. But we've got some nice pieces coming in.
We will continue with Coach Marshall on our weekly Coaches Show from AJ's Sports Grill at the Alley, so stay tuned.
I want to make cars fly. I love turning old stuff into something amazing. I want to plant a garden for the whole world.
We grow up, but we never stop dreaming. Here at Coke, we challenge ourselves and the status quo to produce innovations like renewable fuel, more energy-efficient vehicles, and food for all. Because what drives us most is challenge itself.
Mexican spices? Nacho cheese sauce? They don't want these coming out.
Who's they?
The burger people, they.
Nacho fries, now serving at a Taco Bell near you.
Visit one of Green Vision Group's 21 locations today to maximize your healthcare dollars. Our optometrists and ophthalmologists offer full-service, personalized care for the entire family. Use your flexible spending and vision insurance benefits for eye exams, contact lenses, fashion eyewear, prescription sunglasses, LASIK, or other eye surgeries. Our vision is to help you focus on the moments that matter most. Green Vision Group. Never miss a moment.
Stagecoach! It's the Patterson Legal Group. Someone's gonna pay.
Our client's been in a car wreck. Where's the insurance guy?
It's time to pay our client for damages.
They deserve more. There's lots of pain and suffering.
You really don't want to see us in court, so pay it all now.
Hurt in a car wreck?
Call the good guys. We're Tyler
and Gary, the Patterson Legal Group.
Call 550-0000.
Welcome the newest member of our X family of games, the Kansas Lottery Multiplier Super Ticket. Score cash and multiply your bundle of joy up to $250,000.
Two medium Pizza Hut pizzas, just $5.99 each. No one out pizzas the...
Welcome back to the Gregg Marshall Show, and we're glad to have you with us. Wichita State back in action at home Thursday night against Temple. We'll be talking about that at some length in just a moment. You mentioned after the game, Coach, that Marcus McDuffie had tweaked an ankle just a little bit in the game. I was curious how he was doing.
He practiced today, even though he's a little bit banged up. The ankle's swollen a little bit, but I think he'll be fine Thursday. He got out there a little bit today, and so I would say limited, but he definitely wants to play against Temple. This time, hopefully, we'll make that last shot.
You know, he has obviously struggled a little bit just getting back in sync since he's been back, but I thought Saturday especially, he was closer to being what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, you know, it's hard. It really, it's in my career, when you add a player mid-year, like essentially he was added right before conference play. So it's like a mid-year transfer. I've done that a couple of times, mid-year transfers, and that first semester, the spring semester, when they join a team that's already played 12, 13 games or whatever, and in this case Marcus, he's missed the first 11 games, it's very difficult. There's already a rotation set. The guys are used to playing with one another. Then you add a guy as good as Marcus McDuffie, and all of a sudden minutes are sucked away from other guys. Wherever his minutes come from, they've got to come from some other player. They don't just we don't get 25 extra minutes to just plug him in. They're subtracted from other players. So that causes a little bit of an issue. A great example is Connor Frankamp. His first semester, which was Ron and Fred's senior year, I think that was 15?
Yeah. Or 16.
No, 16, 15, 16. And he didn't have a great year. I mean, people said he couldn't shoot. Remember, he couldn't make a shot. You remember that? It was like a couple of games. It was the Utah game at Intrust Bank Arena when he finally made a jump shot.
Very end of the game.
But that was worrisome. You know, what's wrong with this guy? He can't play. It's just hard to add him at mid-year like that.
And your bench again outscored the opposition significantly. You've outscored all but 2 opponents with your bench, and one of them you didn't was Memphis, who just had more guys in there early than you did, and by 16 points a game. But I thought the other night, C.J. Kaiser, who I know you've wanted to get more time when you can, I thought had some good minutes, had 4 rebounds in somewhat limited time. And Asbjorn, who hadn't played for a long time, I thought came in and played like he was ready to play and kind of expected himself to do well the other
Yeah,
night.
C.J. is just, he needs time. He needs to play in games, and it's very difficult with trying to win these close games with all these good teams that we're playing and quality players in front of him. Asbjorn he sprained his ankle. He was out for at least 2 weeks, if not 2.5 weeks, because when you're that big and you come down on somebody's foot, man, that's a lot of force. And he's never really been hurt, so he had to deal with, getting around on a very painful and injured ankle. But his parents are in town, so finally he's healthy, and he practiced for a couple of days. His folks are visiting from Denmark, and he got the opportunity. We got him the ball in 2 different sets. One on the baseline, short corner, and instead of exploding through traffic, he kind of went soft and got his shot blocked. But then he got a pass down under the basket, made a nice move on the other side and laid it in. Got a rebound, fought off a couple of guys clawing at the ball, and made a free throw. So the second free throw was not a thing of beauty, but the first one went in. And he's going to, every day he's getting better. Today he was really good in practice. I kind of offended him, I think, when I showed him that clip of the last game, and said, "Man, you got to explode. I'm going to talk to Kerry Rosenboom. You got to go through that traffic. You got to do this." And everything's slow and lethargic. So he was not happy when he hit the practice court, and so he gave Shaq and Rano the business today. So it was good. It was good to see.
You mentioned the rebound, and that's one thing you've really been working on with him, specific drills of going up, grabbing the ball above the rim with both hands and securing it, and he really did hang on to that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure they keep rebounding stats in Europe. I don't think that's a big part of the game in Europe. But Rano and he have both had problems with, they need to watch Richard Kelly. That's what they need to do, and use their size and become as fierce in pursuit of the basketball as Richard Kelly is.
We'll talk about Temple a little bit. Obviously, the game up there was such a heartbreaker. You had shots at the end of regulation, at the end of overtime that could have won, and both good open shots. Zach Brown was in a favorite spot in the left corner where he's made a lot of shots from, even some big shots this year, and then Marcus at the end of overtime, about as good a shot as you could ask for in that situation.
Both of them wide open. I mean, no one within 5 feet on either side, both shots. And not only that, we had some shots before that. I mean, as well as Austin was playing, he had a pull-up jumper at the left elbow with a couple of minutes to go that I thought was down. It didn't go in. But we had a tough call to give him the 2-point lead on the checkout with Landry Shamet. And we missed a box out to even give him that opportunity. I'm not going to name that player, but that was a bad decision to forget to box out in that situation and become a spectator. The bottom line is we kind of gave the game away. We turned the ball over. We turned the ball over too many times in the guts of the game in the second half. And just, that's what I'm talking about. These other players have arms. They have hands. They like to win. They're going to try to deflect your passes. You've got to make sure that you factor that in when you're trying to make the extra pass. But we'll be ready on Thursday.
The other thing that was so strange about that game was that I thought most of the time you ran really good offense and just missed a lot of open shots. There was a stretch of 7 minutes in the second half where you were up 10, and it was a long, slow process over 7 minutes where they outscored you by 11 and took a 1-point lead for just a moment. And over that stretch, Bob Hull went back and looked at the video. You missed 5 wide-open jump shots from 10 to 15 feet, not even three-pointers, and that's just real uncharacteristic for your team.
You got to make shots on the road against good teams, and our defense was okay, not to the point where we could counter missing shots and turning the ball over.
They are a talented team. They've got certainly a first 5 and a couple more they can run out there that are all capable of scoring. They're kind of interesting because they don't get to the free throw line much, and they'll shoot it pretty quickly. That's one of the reasons. But a very dangerous team with a lot of capable guys.
Tons of athletic talent. Rose is an NBA prospect. I talked to the Lakers scouts before the game in Philadelphia. They had 2 guys there. Kevin Greavy was one of them. Remember Kevin Greavy from Kentucky? He does radio work, by the way, for Westwood One at the NCAA tournament. And I've encountered him many times, and we've become friends. So, I think Shiz Alston's a very good player. Obviously, Obi, I can't say his last name.
Necchionia.
Obi is his first name. That's what we call him. In the scouting reports, he's Obi. And then the point guard, Josh Brown.
Yeah, had a very good night that night. Had a career high points.
He's a very good player. So, and they've got guys off the bench. They're talented. They get some of the best players in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia's a big city to draw from. As is Houston. They've got these places we're going now. They have the opportunity to the talent pool just in the cities alone in Dallas and Houston and Philadelphia and St. Pete, Tampa. You could just recruit your city if you could get not just the best player. You let him go to Duke or wherever, but you get the 2nd or 4th best player in your city every year. You're going to be fine.
And the guy that was kind of a surprise but has been playing really well ever since is Pierre-Louis, the freshman, who is a strong kid and had some big plays in that game. And I've seen them a couple of times since. He just seems to really be building.
Well, he had played very, very well in like the game or 2 right before, because I watched that game as part of my preparation, and the kid was tremendous. He's just he's a slasher. He has an ugly shot, but he makes big shots, and he did that in that game. He's the one that got the offensive rebound when we neglected to check.
And you mentioned as far as motivation, I know this is a team that still has a lot of pride. That was a game that really hurt, and I'm sure they're looking forward for an opportunity to have a different outcome on Thursday.
I've got 4 days, Mike, to prepare these boys for that game, and I'm just going to tell you we'll be ready to play.
All right, we will continue with Coach Marshall right after this.
In today's world, connections are everything, which makes your Wi-Fi even more important. With Cox high-speed internet, you can get the latest equipment and access to super fast in-home Wi-Fi. You also get the security you need to protect your privacy. And when you travel, we're right there with you, giving you access to more than 500,000 Wi-Fi hotspots across the country. At home or away, Cox has you covered. Learn more with the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
What happens when you register your Cox account and get a user ID and password? You open up a world of possibilities for all your Cox services, like access to live TV and on-demand shows with the Contour app, and TV network apps to watch on the go. Cox Security Suite Plus, powered by McAfee, and phone tools to keep you connected when you leave home. Discover what you can do. Check out the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
With Cox high-speed internet, you get access to super fast in-home Wi-Fi to power all your devices and do the things you love online. And now, when you're traveling, you have free access to the nation's largest Wi-Fi network with over 500,000 hotspots, so you can stay connected in places such as New York City, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Phoenix, and many more. Learn how with the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn. In today's world, connections are everything, which makes your Wi-Fi even more important. With Cox high-speed internet, you can get the latest equipment and access to super fast in-home Wi-Fi. You also get the security you need to protect your privacy. And when you travel, we're right there with you, giving you access to more than 500,000 Wi-Fi hotspots across the country. At home or away, Cox has you covered. Learn more with the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
What happens when you register your Cox account and get a user ID and password? You open up a world of possibilities for all your Cox services, like access to live TV and on-demand shows with the Contour app, and TV network apps to watch on the go. Cox Security Suite Plus, powered by McAfee, and phone tools to keep you connected when you leave home. Discover what you can do. Check out the Cox Discover More video series at cox.com/learn.
Welcome back to our Monday get-together with Gregg Marshall, the Shockers, and Temple on Thursday night at Koch Arena. Just a reminder, that's a 6 o'clock tip-off, so you get home a little earlier, but you need to get there a little earlier. Make sure you are ready to go like the team is on Thursday night. One person I wanted to mention, and you almost hesitate to do this, although I think we've reached the point where you can. Shaquille Morris has been playing at a level that I don't think we've seen from him consistently previously in his career. And by that I mean things like he tipped a rebound, an offensive rebound at Memphis, chased it all the way out to half court to recover it. He had a play the other night where he fronted the post, deflected a ball, chased it way out on the perimeter, and just making plays like that consistently that we've seen in flashes, but not all the time from him.
Yeah, he's been a steady progression of maturity for his career, and I think at this point he's in the twilight of his college career. We count the games down. Today I told him, I said, listen, I'm 54 years old. You got to understand that when you think back on what you got now, you got 6 games, and if short of winning a national championship, you're going to lament that last game and what you could have done better, or how you could have given more, and that's coming up. So unless we win a national championship, that's upcoming. Why don't you do something about it now? But we talked in October, November about what you're going to want to do in February and March. So I think it's dawned on him now that he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. That one of these days I'm not going to be on his behind every second of every day. And this is what I'm capable of, and why don't you do it consistently? And it's just great to see. I mean, it's really it's rewarding as a coach to see how far that young man has come. He's going to leave here with a degree. He's going to be a professional basketball player, and I honestly believe, because he's had coaches in his life all along that have pushed him to be better. Not just a better player, but just to be better. He's going to be a better man.
Absolutely, and he's always been a very likable young man, but just finding that extra gear to push himself to be what he can be. And one of the things that stands out about the earlier game with Temple, he had 24 points, 9 rebounds, 10 of 16 from the field, which are impressive numbers, but he played 35 minutes, and that has to be an all-time career high for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, when he's going like that and he doesn't get in silly foul trouble and he doesn't play like he's tired, he always tells me he's not tired. And, we'll run wind sprints, and he can't make the wind sprint. But then, like, you give him 15 minutes break, and he's fresh, and he can beat everyone in the wind sprint. I mean, this guy can really, really run when he wants to, when he feels like in his mind he's fresh. So I have to – it's a game that I have to play. I have to really watch him more than any other player, because if he does get tired, he shuts down a little bit. He'll not box out, and he'll basically jog or walk up the court both ways, and he won't offensive rebound. And so those are my telltale signs, and I kind of know where that is now. It used to be, I joked a couple of years ago that I would sub him in, and I would also have his sub go to the table with him and say, okay, I'm going in. No, you're not. I'm not going in now. I'm going in at the next dead ball and replacing him. But now he can go about 3.5 to 4 minutes, depending on the pace of the game. But that Temple game, maybe I played him too many minutes because he might have been the one that missed some of those open jump shots at the end.
You mentioned Cincinnati a little bit earlier, and obviously your focus right now is on Temple principally, but it's just such an interesting matchup because from all indications, we haven't had a chance to see them in person yet, but everything you hear about them is it's a program that's built on very similar methods in terms to what you've done here. It's about toughness and unselfishness and rebounding and defense and all those kinds of things. I mean, it's really two teams with similar mindsets going at each other.
Yeah, the only advantage they have is they've been recruiting at the Big East level and now the American Conference level for the last 15, 20 years or whatever it's been, and we've been recruiting at the Missouri Valley Conference level. So they've got some big, strong athletes that are gnarly. I mean, they play so tough and physical and aggressive, and they've added in that skill just to score enough points. But, man, it's very difficult to score on those guys.
It will be the league's best offensive team, numbers-wise, Wichita State, against the team that's number 2 in the nation in scoring defense, number 1 in field goal percentage defense. All their defensive numbers across the board are just incredible. So it will be a major challenge, but interesting in your first year in this league, and you were the two that everybody was talking about from the beginning, that it's finally going to happen here with, 5 games to go in the season.
Yeah, and you hate that it's taken this long, but we had to get together at some point, and they've got to go to Houston, I believe, before they play against us. So if they can beat Houston at Houston and sweep us, then that dude is Coach of the Year in my book.
Well, it's certainly, as you said, a big week ahead, but encouraging with the signs we've seen from your team of being back to what we've come to know as Shocker basketball over the last 11 years.
Yeah, and just again, we're 19-5, we're 9-3 in the league, we're 19th in the country out of 351 schools, so we're right where we need to be, but we need to finish strong, and this is going to be the killer of all Februaries that we've encountered. You got Cincinnati twice, at SMU, who's already beaten us, at South Central Florida, who's very good at home, and then we have Tulane, and Mike Dunleavy is probably Coach of the Year in the league, if it's not Mick Cronin, and then who else comes us? Temple and Cincinnati.
Well, it will be fun to look forward to. Should be a great we're looking forward to all of you making it a great atmosphere on Thursday night, and certainly that's been a constant. It's always great to get back to Koch Arena, and the crowds have just been tremendous.
Yeah, and by the way, the fans deserve some credit. We got a little better with the lights before the game, and CBS used that, or CBS or ESPN actually used that in their promo about how cool that pregame deal was. So great job. Let's continue to get those phones out or use your flashlights, whatever.
All right, Coach, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll see you Thursday night. That's our show for this week. Coming up at the top of the hour, Keitha Adams to talk about Shocker women's basketball with Steve Strain. Again, tip-off 6 o'clock on Thursday night at Koch Arena with Temple, and Sunday afternoon, 3 o'clock Central Time from Cincinnati. Big week ahead. We'll be back here next Monday to talk about it. Thanks for joining us tonight.